Nanalo na Fang Feud ng Team David na 200,000 pesos.
Family Feud, 5:35 p.m.
Welcome to my episode that is called
That's okay.
Iran and the US have agreed a deal to end the war. US President Donald Trump announced the deal on social media, followed shortly afterward by Iran's Deputy Foreign Minister Kazem Garibabadi, who gave a telephone interview to Iranian state television. He said the memorandum of understanding was reached despite what he called complete distrust. The deal will be officially signed on Friday in Switzerland. It is, however, just the framework of an agreement and gives both sides 60 more days to hash out the details, including, according to sources, sanctions and the fate of Iran's nuclear program. Here's Chief National Security Correspondent Phil Stewart.
So the deal hasn't been published yet, and what we're getting right now are responses from President Trump, from Iranian state media, about what is in the agreement. And there is a big difference between those two accounts. But what we can say for sure is both sides seem to believe that on Friday they're going to sign an MOU that will allow for an opening of the Strait of Hormuz and an end to the blockade. The exact timing, again, depends on who you talk to. In the Iranian media, there's a 14-article draft memorandum that includes certain points that would be, very difficult for many in Trump's Republican base to accept, for Israel also to accept. But one of these points that they cited includes the necessity for U.S. and allies to present reconstruction plans for Iran amounting to at least $300 billion, calls for the release of $24 billion in Iranian-blocked funds during the talks, not once the talks are complete.
According to Iran and Pakistan, an end to hostilities in Lebanon is also part of this initial agreement, starting tonight. Although Israel, which launched an attack targeting Hezbollah in Beirut's southern suburbs as late as yesterday, has yet to comment. And another thing to note, Phil says, is the timing.
The timing is extraordinary. The fact that this was announced on President Trump's birthday is remarkable only because Iranian state media on Saturday had actually come out and said in an analysis that its negotiators were smart enough not to allow that to happen, that Iran's negotiators wouldn't allow an agreement to become sort of a birthday present for President Trump. And yet that's what wound up happening.
The UK, France, Germany and Italy all responded to the news, saying they're prepared to lift sanctions on Iran in response to steps on its nuclear program. For the market reaction, here's host of our sister Markets podcast, Morning Bid, Amanda Cooper.
That's right. As a result, we're seeing oil prices down sharply this morning, exactly as you'd expect. The stock market getting a nice lift. The
Ay,
bond market
grabe. Notification.
getting a nice lift as well. Yields falling as people start to price out the possibility of extensive rate hikes this year and so on. The problem is, though, that this isn't a deal as such. It's a framework for a deal. And while this is enough to give markets some big cause for optimism so far today, there's a lot of details that have yet to come to the surface, that have yet to be thrashed out. So we're not seeing the total gangbusters reaction that you might expect upon hearing that a peace deal is imminent.
Don't forget you can catch Morning Bid wherever you get your podcasts. After the Iran announcement, Trump spent the night, which as Phil mentioned was also his birthday, at a UFC fight on the south lawn of the White House. He waved to crowds from the White House balcony before taking his front row seat. Thousands of people turned up for the UFC Freedom 250 show, part of the country's celebrations to mark its 250th anniversary. From there, Trump heads to France for the G7 summit. In the lead-up, police fired tear gas and used water cannon against anti-G7 protesters in Geneva, who set fire to a vehicle and smashed windows at a UN agency. Some 20,000 people gathered for a march that was initially peaceful, protesting what they say is a symbol of the world's centralized political and economic power. Leaders from France, Britain, Germany, Canada, Italy, Japan, the EU, as well as the US, will all attend the event in France's Evian-les-Bains, which had been pushed back to accommodate President Trump's birthday. Our chief correspondent in France, Gabriel Stargarder, is covering the summit and says while Iran will be top of the agenda, there's a lot more that needs to be discussed.
Trump has made no secret of his distaste for these sort of multilateral affairs. He left the last G7 early, and officials have set the bar very low in terms of expectations. The French have made tackling global economic imbalances a major focus of theirs, so that's Chinese oversupply and European underinvestment. I think the issue of AI is also going to have a role. Macron has invited some senior tech bosses to attend, and that will certainly be under discussion. But at the moment, right now, it feels like there's a little bit too much disunity for anything considerable to come out of these talks.
Gabriel says that while the G7 may struggle to come to any agreements this week, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky, there as a non-G7 attendee, will be hoping for more.
Zelensky is going to be there. He is going to meet with Trump, and, you know, to a certain extent, Zelensky's fortunes have changed somewhat since, you know, the famous situation in the Oval Office when he was told he didn't have the cards. The Ukrainians' fortunes are widely believed to have shifted. There seem to be on more positive ground, largely thanks to their drone incursions in Russia, which are starting to cause real pain.
Meanwhile, a major Russian attack on Ukraine's capital has damaged the Peshcherk Lavra Monastery, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and a symbol of Ukrainian spiritual and cultural history. 4 people were killed in that attack, and at least 5 killed elsewhere in Ukraine, as Russia sent a barrage of drones and missiles over the border. Swiss voters have rejected a proposal to cap the country's population at 10 million. Projections show 55% voted against the measure. The right-wing Swiss People's Party championed the plan, saying immigration is straining services and pushing up rents. Had it passed, it would have forced Switzerland to end its free movement of labour within the European Union. Switzerland's population already stands at 9.1 million, with foreigners making up nearly a third of that. A plane carrying a group of skydivers has crashed in Missouri, killing all 11 skydivers and the pilot who were on board. The crash happened near the Butler Memorial Airport, south of Kansas City. The cause of the crash is under investigation. US Senator Mitch McConnell has been hospitalized. It's not clear why, with his office only saying that he's receiving excellent care. The 84-year-old Republican from Kentucky was seen being taken from his Washington home on a stretcher Sunday morning. That's according to 2 neighbors who spoke to Reuters. McConnell is a former Senate Majority Leader who's set to retire when his term ends in 2027. And finally, supporters of Iran's national football team cheer the squad as they leave their hotel in Mexico's Tijuana, headed for Los Angeles for their opening match of the tournament. But it's unclear what kind of reception they'll get when they take to the field to face New Zealand tonight. During pitch preparations in Los Angeles, boos could be heard as the Iranian flag was carried out. And outside the stadium, a small group of protesters called for FIFA to expel the team and send them home. For all the World Cup happenings, both on and off the pitch, check out our new Pitchside podcast, hosted by Ethan Plotkin. We'll put a link to that in the show notes. For more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. Don't forget to follow us on your favourite podcast player. If you're listening on a smart speaker, just ask for the latest news from Reuters 7 days a week. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.
That's it for your news updates. To see more stories, open Google News.